it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. Today I am taking part in the colour combo hop. We have an interesting colour combination. We've got Call Me Clover, Mint Macaron and Coastal Cabana. Not colours I would have naturally put together, but this is what I've come up with. And it kind of works. So let me show you how I made it. I'm using shimmer white cardstock because it's a watercolour technique. So I am going to start by protecting my work surface and my hands because this is a mucky one. So now I'm going to be using re-inkers because I have them. And for this technique, I think it is easier. You could use your ink pads, but I would be a little worried about cross-contamination. You might be able to use Stampin' Right markers, but yeah, for me, it re-inkers. Now, everyone is going to be different. Let me tell you that before I start. And looking at the one that I have prepared earlier, bearing in mind that we are going to need to dry, the one I've prepared is very different from this. But let's see what we come up with this time. So I'm going diagonally. I have done sort of an ombre, and I will show you those in a minute as well. But I'm going to go diagonally. You do not need much. It is re-inker. It is very concentrate, or concentrated even. So I put my Call Me Clover at the top, and I'm putting my Coastal Cabana at the bottom. And I'm going to be using more of Coastal Cabana and Mint Macaron because the Call Me Clover is a very strong colour. But I'm putting the Mint Macaron in the middle because it's sort of the transition between the two. Okay, so that's the easy bit. We then get water. This is just a Stampin' Mist sprayer that I've now got water in, but any spritzer will do. There are the Stampin' spritzers. They don't have quite such a large spritz, but they could work. And I have to say I'm standing way back because this splatters. So probably not the best day to have worn a white t-shirt. Right, so I've got a piece of, this is a quarter sheet of the shimmer white cardstock, and I'm just going to drop it into the ink. I'm then going to bring in a piece of kitchen paper and press, and this just helps to absorb some of the ink, and it also makes it makes it obvious if everything's come to the sides because you can see it. Then pull it up and you've got a partly clean surface, which is sort of a bonus. Then pull it up and there is your diagonal colours. So we've got the Call Me Clover at the top, the Coastal Cabana at the bottom and the Mint Macaron in the middle. And I'm just going to clean that up before I move it out of the way. And then I'm going to pop this to one side to dry. You can see I've got spritz marks on my grid paper. Throw the kitchen towel away and take my gloves off. And I'm going to bring in some others just to show you, and then I'll show you the one that we're going to use. So this was ombre, so this was Call Me Clover, Mint Macaron and Coastal Cabana. It's actually quite nice. This was the same idea, but I got a bit carried away with the Call Me Clover. And then this was just dotting it all over the place. So again, a nice background. I will be using these for other samples, or other projects rather, but the one I'm going to use is this one, which is actually not dissimilar to the one I made earlier. The more water you add and the less ink you add, the softer the effect, and actually that was kind of what I was working towards rather than the one that I ended up with, which is a bit too bold for me. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is trim that down to a standard card front. Measurements will be over on my website, which is linked below in the description bar. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trim off one edge, and then I'm going to actually measure. I'm going to turn it over because then it's flatter, and I'm going to measure 3 7/8 because for me that is a standard width. And then again, I'm going to have a quick look and see which end I prefer. And I think this end, so that we've got a bit more colour. So I'm going to take a hair of a smidge off that. And the only reason I'm doing this is so that we've got white at both edges, because this is the, you're probably not going to be able to see it, but this has got Call Me Clover actually on the edge, whereas the cut edge will be white. And I just want that same effect both sides. And then 5 5/8. And that is my basic card front size. Now I'm going to keep my trimmer out because I'm doing an arbitrary piece of shimmery white. It happens to measure 1 5/8. It's not important what it measures, it's just a piece. So it's actually slightly narrower than the one I had before, very slightly narrower. So 1 5/8, I'm going to add 1/8 of an inch, and if you're in metric, you want to add 1/4 centimetre. So 1 5/8. So 1 5/8 will take me up to 1 3/4. Just make sure you've got that nice and straight. And then my next one will be mint macaron, because that is the ham between the sandwich, if you like. I'm just going to trim this down a wee bit in length, because I can use that for something else. So 1 3/4 goes to 1 7/8 and cut. And then 1 7/8 in my Coastal Cabana goes to 2 inches. So that's that. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take this, grab my label punch that I'm going to be using, and punch out of the middle. I will explain why momentarily. Okay, so that's all I need that for. Now, this I'm going to make a textured background. So I'm going to bring in a scrap of paper, and I'm using Tasteful Textures, which is from the new annual catalogue. I think I can still just about call it new. And I'm going to use Call Me Clover and just build up a background. Let's get rid of that. Let's pop that there and that there so you can see it. So I'm just going to stamp off and stamp, and I'm going to overlap where I've stamped. I am going to be stamping over the top anyway, so I'm not too worried if I get these funny lines. And I'm going to turn it upside down and have another go and just build up my background. So that's the Call Me Clover done with. Next, I want mint macaron. And this, I'm going to use the sort of fleur-de-lis pattern. And I'm going to start off. And this I'm doing full strength because it is a lighter colour. And then just fill that in. That's all I need that for. And then I've got a scrap of the shimmer white. Shimmer white is not white, it's between very vanilla and white. So so that's white, and that is very vanilla. So you can see it's between the two. So if you're going to use a plain background for anything, and you've used shimmer white anywhere on your project, I would highly recommend using shimmer white as your white. Coastal Cabana and my sentiment: thanks for making it easy to believe in myself, which I think is a really nice thing to say. I'm just going to stamp that like that. Get rid of that. Come in with my label punch again. And punch that out. Now, on this you will see that I've got it with holes either side with the ribbon coming through, and there is a trick to that. Turn your piece of paper over and mark roughly the middle of this bit, and then with your duo punch upside down, pop this into the oval end and hold it as straight as you can and press down. And that's one hole. Get rid of the hole and then do the same the other end. And punch down. And there are your two ribbon ends. So I need a piece of mint macaron textile ribbon, which, had I been sensible, I would have prepared earlier, but hey, in fact I need two pieces. So we can now put everything together. Eee. Right, so I'm going to do it on a Call Me Clover background this time, just to see the difference. I was using mint macaron before, but I do like to sort of change it up just to see which one works best. So we have our strips, and somewhere, oh, over there, we have that, and I also somewhere, oh yes, buried under my ink pads, have our background. Don't need my card base for the moment, so just flatten this out a wee bit. We can do that, most of that with the glue, but I'll just persuade it. So the first thing we need to do is layer all this lot up. So we're going Call Me Clover, mint macaron, Coastal Cabana. These are all too long for the card base, she says, hopefully. Just too long for the card base, because I will be, very just, trimming them down. Yep. If they need it, she says rapidly. So, Call Me Clover first. Liquid adhesive. Assuming there's anything in my liquid adhesive. Just. So along the edges first. And pop that onto my Call Me Clover piece, which I've just got that tiny little edge, and I want one end to be perfectly lined up, and you can do that just by standing it up. Then we're going on to the mint macaron. Oops! Come off the edge, why don't you? So I can feel that there's more glue in there. It just needs persuading to come down to the end. Then pop this on my mint macaron. And again, we're looking for the hair of a smidge of a border, preferably straight. There we go, and pop it on its end to make sure everything is square. And then, or nearly square anyway. And then, this is the trick, because obviously we don't want glue in the space where the hole is. So come in from the edge, because we know that we only want 1/16 of an inch at the edge. So in from the edge and fill in. Find the top of your glue, there we are. Pop that upside down to see if I can encourage it to flow. And again, we just want 1/16. And just move that across, straighten the end, get rid of the excess adhesive. Okay, so that's nicely done. This then pops onto our card base, or our mat rather. And I'm going to have, again, the call me clover at the top. So shake this down. Now let's, if I hold that there, I'll be able to see where the bottom actually is, which is always a plan. Now, if all things go to plan, this is the last video that I need to shoot before I go on holiday. Assuming that everything goes to plan. Otherwise, I will be opening up a new glue. But I don't really want to open up a new glue unless I have to just before I'm going on holiday. Okay. And then again, just square that off, press from the back, and time to trim the bottom. So from the bottom, from the back, with a chunky pair of scissors, so I would not recommend your snips for this because we are cutting through 4 layers of card, just trim straight. And there we go, nice straight edge. Get rid of that. Now this I'm going to cut in half, and while I've got my long scissors out, always a good time to do that. Ooh, and I'm going to need my glue again. Okay, actually, no. I'm going to put my ribbon through first. So we're coming from the front to the back, and from the back to the front, like that. And then I want a little bit of glue on the top edge, on both sides. And then come in with our Coastal Cabana pieces and just add those to form a frame, top and bottom. You can tell I'm concentrating because I've gone quiet. There we go. And then just tuck that under there, where there is actually no glue, but just want that to lie flat. There we go. Okay, so that is going to go here. You see, there's part of me that wants to put it there and cover that white space, but I'm going to admit I've got a white space. Let's pull that through. So that's going to go there. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back, just in the middle, because that's the only piece that's really going to touch the card. Pulling my ribbon tight, pop that down so it is square, press, and whoops, let's do that for a moment while I grab 2 small pieces of tear and tape. Turn this over, and this is where the grid paper really comes into its own. Straighten up one edge, pop your tear and tape down, and we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole squares. So that's going to come there. Pop that down. Lift up the tear and tape, cover, and whoops, preferably straight. Flip that over. You don't want it too tight at this stage. So there we go. Because we are going to add a little knotted bit. So with your small piece of ribbon, just tie that in a half knot and pull it tight, and that will shorten this crossed piece of ribbon. And then just grab your snips and trim once, trim twice, don't need that. Grab our our card blank. Might actually trim those ends a wee bit more. Flatten that out would be nice. And I am actually, just for insurance, going to add 2 more pieces of tear and tape over the ribbon, just so that we know that we've got that ribbon really well encased in adhesive. It just means that it's less likely to pull, and you really don't want your ribbon to pull out from the back. It's not a good look and nigh on impossible to get back in. So, whoops, don't need that. Just come along. Ooh, go off the edge again, why won't we? Round the edges and then across the middle, and this will help flatten everything out. And hopefully I have now done everything I need with that pot of glue, and I can open up a new one when I get back from holiday. Okay, so pop that down from the back, press, and I always do it from the back because you're less likely to shift your pieces if you do it from the back. So there we go. So that's my 2 cards, and as I say, same idea, same principle, just with a bit more of the Call Me Clover on this one than on this one, but bearing in mind that we are working with Call Me Clover, Mint Macaron and Coastal Cabana, I think you will agree that that's not a bad idea. I do hope you enjoyed it. Do go and have a look over on my website. You'll find the hop. So go and have a look around at everybody else's projects, because I'm sure there will be an amazing amount of inspiration. There are a lot of people taking part in this hop, even though when it was first announced that this was the colour scheme, there were 1 or 2 who went, really? Really? So yeah, I think there's going to be some fantastic examples for you to look at. I would love to know whether you prefer the Mint Macaron or the Call Me Clover as the background. I think I know which one I prefer, but it would be interesting to have your view. So why don't you leave that in the comment below. If you're new to my channel, I would be thrilled if you would like to subscribe. There's a subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up. And if you're in the UK and need any products, I would be very grateful if you would consider shopping with me. The host code and a link to my online store are below. Thank you very much indeed, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, maybe.